Hi, welcome to Remember This. I'm your host, Denise Boland, and I am really excited for my next guest. She is an American actress best known for her role as Zuzu Bailey on the classic 1946 Frank Capra film, It's a Wonderful Life. And she also played Debbie Brown in the 1947 film, The Bishop's Wife. Everyone, please welcome Karolyn Grimes. Karolyn, welcome to Remember This.
Well, thank you for having me. I love to talk to fans and I love to talk to people and tell my stories. So, hey, it's a good match.
It is a good match. This works because I love to hear backstories and my viewers do too. So we are definitely going to have fun.
Okay,
Okay, so you were in 16 movies, is that correct?
that's right. Mhm.
16 movies. Okay, and you were in these movies with such iconic stars as Bing Crosby, John Wayne, Cary Grant, David Niven, Loretta Young, and of course Jimmy Stewart and Donna Reed. And you are one of the most iconic child movie stars there is because you are in the most popular scene of the most popular Christmas movie and probably the most viewed at Christmas time. And we'll get into that later. What I'd like to is if you can please take us back and tell us how you got started. You were in a movie when you were 6 months old. How did that all come about?
Yeah, well, I have no idea about that one. And quite frankly, I'm listed for doing that, but I've watched the movie maybe 4 times and I've never seen a baby, me in that movie, but I'm listed in it. So there you
Okay.
go. But actually, I didn't really start until I was 4. And my mother was a stage mom. She wanted me to be in the movies. And my mom, I was the only child, so she could focus all that energy on me. And she made me take dancing lessons, singing lessons, acting lessons, elocution lessons, dialect. I mean, there wasn't much that she missed, but the one thing that I could never learn was dancing. I played the piano and I played the violin, everything, but I could not dance. So that was kind of pathetic. I clomped around on the stage and it was pretty sick.
Well, I for one have two left feet, so I sympathize with you. Well, you are a tremendous actress because you were very convincing in that scene with Jimmy Stewart when he came home and you were sick in bed. Um, I'd like to show it if that's okay.
Sure, go ahead.
I love watching scenes with the person that was in it just to get their reaction. So I'm going to pull that up because to me, it's one of my favorite parts of the movie. Okay, so let me just bring
It's a
that
heart
up.
zinger.
It really is.
Hi, Daddy.
Well, what happened to you?
I want a flower.
Wait now, where do you think you're going?
Want to give my flower a drink.
All right. I'll give Dad the flower. I'll give it a drink. No, here.
Look, Daddy. Taste it.
Yeah, all right. Give it here. All right, we'll paste this together. There it is. Good as new. Now, give the flower a drink. Now, will you do something for me?
What?
Will you try and get some sleep?
I'm not sleepy. I want to look at my flower.
I know, but you just go to sleep. And then you can dream about it. And it'll be a whole garden.
It will.
Bravo. It touches me every time I watch.
Very poignant.
How does it feel for you seeing yourself as that little girl in that scene?
Well, I remember all of that. And of course, I've got a critical eye at this age. And I think, why did you do that? Or why didn't you do this? And that's kind of the way I look at it. But I can't help but have a little thumpy heart because, it was such a poignant scene. And he was such a good actor. And if you'll notice at the end, when he puts his hand on my face, it covers my whole face. And I have to lay there and try to breathe.
Ah,
There's a lot of things that I remember that are a lot of fun, things that happen when you're a kid.
right,
And my mother threatened me with death if I ever made any, say anything that I shouldn't say or whatever.
right. Was she there on
So
set
I
watching?
didn't.
Your mom was there watching?
Always, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
She was with me in every movie I ever did. Yeah. And she took me to see this agent, and her name was Lola Moore. And she handled probably the majority of the kids in Hollywood during that day. It was in the 40s. And so she sent me on interviews, and pretty soon I started getting parts, and there you go. So I started when I was 4. That's when I did my first one.
Now, which one was your first movie? Was that the first movie?
That Night with You. That Night with You. And that was Francho Tone and I believe Susanna York. And I don't know, Granny was in it from the
The
Hillbillies.
Beverly Hillbillies?
Irene
Ah,
Irene Ryan. Yeah.
I loved her.
So it was a nice one, and it was a Christmas thing. And we were a bunch of orphan kids. And the littlest boy in It's a Wonderful Life, his brother was in this one with me. So, we were all a bunch of little child actors, and all of us kind of worked the same circuit. And so we were together a lot in movies. So that was kind of fun. But
Right.
that one was especially fun because I broke an ornament on the Christmas tree, and they were all mad at me because they thought that we'd get sent back to the orphanage, and, full of drama.
Right.
But
Did
I
you
do
have a lot of
remember very
lines? Do
distinctly.
you remember? Was it a lot of lines for your first movie?
No, not especially, just a few, but I do remember so vividly Susanna York holding me on her lap, singing a lullaby to me, and I had to play like I was asleep. And it was fun. It was very good. Most of the stars I worked with had bad breath, but she didn't.
Well, we really are getting backstories here. That's great.
Yes.
Do you care to name anybody?
Well,
You
all the
probably don't
women
want to.
smoked back then.
Right. That is true. That was a big thing in Hollywood, was smoking. They even smoked like on the TV shows, Lucy and Desi were
Oh,
smoking on I Love Lucy. Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. So Bing Crosby, what was Bing Crosby like? You're probably going to run down the line with you. What was Bing Crosby like? Did you have a scene with him, or were you just in the movie with him? Did you have a?
Oh no, no, he was my dad.
Uh-huh.
I
Okay.
had all kinds of famous daddies. So he
Wow.
was
You had
my
all
dad.
the leading men. Yeah, as your dad.
I did. And there's a wonderful sequence where he sings me a lullaby.
Ah,
And it's about a squirrel who goes around in circles. And he's talking about himself in real life, how he's been going around in circles and lost the sight of what really was important. And it's a really good movie. And he was just so elegant and so wonderful. And they did a TV show about the women he kissed, and showed each one, and they showed me because
ah,
he kissed
that's
me.
that's great. That was probably his
It was
best kiss.
great.
Oh,
It was great.
that's wonderful. So
Yeah,
these actors were really nice too behind the scenes, or not all of them were nice?
not all of them, but the majority of them, the biggest stars were the nicest.
It's good to hear. Nice.
Hmm.
Cary Grant seems like he would be nice.
He was my
Was he?
favorite. Oh, he was absolutely marvelous. You know, I think the reason that women weren't so easy to work with in that day was because they were fighting for the marquee, because it was a man's world at that
Yes.
time. And they wanted that marquee. They wanted to get out there. And so they had to really concentrate on what they were doing, studying. So they studied their script all the time, or they cared about their appearance and their actual acting outfits and things like that. I think that's why most of the women were not very friendly.
How was Maureen O'Hara? Because she seemed like she was a little tough. Was she tough in real life, or it's a loaded question?
She was tough.
She was, huh?
She was tough.
I could see that about her. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, John Ford was known for his temper and his wackadoodle ways. And one time I remember, of course, I'm a little kid. I don't know this. I don't know this is what this is all about. But she and he had a giant fight. And I got in on it, but I didn't know what was going on. I could have cared less. I was more interested in the Indians that were on the lot. That was fascinating to me
Yeah.
because they brought them right in from the reservation. And oh, it was just a blast. John Wayne's son, Patrick Wayne, and I peeked and spied on them, even though we were told to stay away from them. And it was just so fun. They played poker and drank strawberry and orange pop all day. It was really fun. But this one time, Maureen O'Hara got into a tiff with John Ford. And she was yelling at him and he was yelling at her. And it ended abruptly. And she happened to be in the limo that I was in the back seat of. I was in the back with my mother. She was in the next seat in front of that. And so she was ranting and raging, and unfortunately she was cursing really, really a lot. And so I thought I wasn't paying any attention. I was looking out the window because I was always afraid I'd fall in the river when they drove along the edge. So
Right.
I wasn't even paying attention. But
Oh, railings. Yeah.
her hairdresser, her hairdresser said, uh, there's a child in the back of this car, because she was cursing badly. And so when she said that, then I started listening, and
That got your attention.
Hare didn't stop at all. She just kept going on and on and on. She was furiously mad at John Ford. So I learned a lot of words that day.
I'm sure you did. Did you go home and tell your parents what you learned? Or you
Well, my
kept it to
mother was in the
yourself?
car with me. She
Oh,
was
your mother
well
was in the car.
aware of it. And I
That's
got
right.
the
Your mom was
talk
with
when
you.
I got back to the hotel room, the talk about we don't say those words and all that kind of stuff.
Right, right,
Because
right.
I never heard them.
Yeah. It's definitely, I would say it's definitely a tough world for children in Hollywood, but you had fun, which was good. I know
Oh,
a
I
lot
had
of
a,
child you did, right? Tell me about,
yeah.
like, I know some of the child stars from the Walton said it was so boring just sitting around waiting and waiting and waiting until it was your turn, your scene.
Well,
Did you find that?
that, that's true, but I didn't find that the case at all. I mean, there's so much to look at, so much to see what's going on. And they were in a generation later than we were at my age. It was a fascinating world when we did it, and all the lights and all the different scenery and everything. Some of them we did outside and all over. I was never bored because I always found something to do. But I guess maybe later on in life, and when TV came around, it might have been boring just sitting there. But we went to school on the lot. So I mean, if
Hmm.
I wasn't working and it was during school time, I'd be in that classroom studying. So it's they had a one room dressing room, and that was our school room. So if there was one kid or 12 kids, they'd all be in that room with the teacher. And that's the way it went. But I don't know. There was always a teacher there from the health and welfare department. That was a law, and it was her job to see that we weren't under the lights too long, or they didn't take
Okay, good.
unnecessary risks with our lives. Like in Albuquerque, a movie I did with Randolph Scott and Gabby Hayes and Catherine Craig. I was riding on a stagecoach on the top where the driver sits. And Gabby Hayes was supposed to be the driver, and he wouldn't do it because he thought it was too dangerous. He'd get knocked out, hit a bump, and boom, you're gone. Well, I wasn't strapped in or anything, and he raised a little fuss about it because he thought it was dangerous for me to be up there. And I was sitting between the driver, which was a stunt man, and Catherine Craig, and I had a blast. I had so much fun. There were like 6 horses pulling this coach, and I was sitting up there shotgun. Oh, it was fun. I just had a
Wow.
blast. But
Dangerous but fun, but you didn't know
looking
it was
back,
dangerous.
it was dangerous.
Right, right. Going back to It's a Wonderful Life, how involved was Frank Capra with directing you? Did he have to direct you, a lot in the scenes, or did he just kind of let you do it the way you wanted to do it? How did that work?
Well, he did the directing, and he let us be a free spirit. But at first, he told us exactly what he wanted us to do, how he wanted us to show how we felt, and he would get down on his knees, and so he'd be eye level with you, and then he would tell you what he wanted you to do, and I loved that. No other director did that, but he did it, and I felt like I really understood what he wanted. When they stood and looked down at you, it's not the same. So he could really get whatever he wanted out of any of us kids. Carol Coombs Mueller, who was playing the piano in that movie, remember, she was crying and crying and crying. She really was crying. She was scared. She didn't like what was going on. He was yelling at the kids, and
Yes.
he was, and she said, "Oh, Daddy." And she's crying. And so, that's part of it. But
Yeah.
Capper made it seem less scary and less, bothersome or frightening. He fixed that. I really will remember that because he was great. I really liked working with him. And I also liked working with Henry Coster, who directed The Bishop's Wife with Cary Grant and David Niven and Loretta Young. That was my favorite.
Yeah.
Cary Grant was my favorite to work of all of the stars. And that was because he liked kids, and he took me around on the ice skating rink. There really was an ice skating rink on the set. And he would take me at lunch, and he would pull me in a sled while he practiced his ice skating. Every day at
Wow.
lunch, he'd come get me. He'd tell me stories, read me stories. He loved children.
Did he have
And it
children
was
at that time?
really
Do you know?
nice.
Do you
Oh,
know if he was,
no.
no,
No.
right? Okay.
He never had a child till he was like, I don't know, 60, I think,
Oh, okay.
with Diane Kate. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, so you were almost like a little daughter to him when you were doing the movie together.
I was just a kid. He liked children, he just
Yeah.
really, I wanted a child. And so he was just really, really, really nice. He spent a lot of time with me. And I think that's another reason why I enjoyed it. Because most of the time, the big stars didn't really look at you, let alone spend time with you.
Right.
It was not something he did. But he was special because he really did. There were some hard feelings on the set between he and David Niven. And of course, Loretta, I think, was working very hard to get on that marquee. So she studied her script all the time.
Yeah.
And she was very nice till my later years. 20 years ago, she was sending me prayers.
Oh,
She was a devout Catholic.
how sweet is
And she
that?
really believed in that. And every movie she did, she'd bring a curse box. So every time anybody, whether it was a stagehand, whether it was a lighter guy, no matter who it was, if they said a swear word, we called it a curse word back then, and
Right.
they'd have to put money in the box. And then at the end of the film, she would give the box to a group of nuns that she had prearranged to give them for the charities. And she
Wow.
was a devout Catholic.
Didn't know that. Very
But
nice.
she smoked and she had terrible breath.
She had the smoker's breath. Yeah.
Yes. That
Isn't
was
it funny
my
the
mother
things that
again.
stick in our mind,
threatening
right?
to- Yeah, well, it was uncomfortable. I mean,
Yeah.
she was in my face
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
That it was not pleasant, but my mother once again threatened me with death if I said anything. So
Right.
I never reacted.
And
But there were
children
a
are
lot of
very
times I
honest.
wanted to pull my head back and say,
Uh-huh.
oh no.
Right. Because children are that honest. Yes. If your mom didn't tell you not to, you probably just, yeah, absolutely.
I probably
Yeah.
would have.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the matter, honey?
They don't want me.
Well, why not?
I guess I'm too little or something.
Oh, no.
Why, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Why, Dudley?
Come on, Debbie. We'll show them how wrong they are. Hey, fellas! Hey, fellas! Who's the head man around here? What's the idea of this game you're playing?
This isn't a game. This is a battle. We attack the fort and they try to defend it. See?
Oh, yeah, then I see. Well, this young lady would like to get into it.
Who, her? She can't fight. Her father's a bishop.
But what difference does it make what her father is? Are you hi-hat? How'd you like her to play on your team?
She couldn't throw a snowball as far as I could spit.
Oh, couldn't she? Come on, Debbie. You show them what you can do.
But it's true. I can't throw.
Nonsense. Of course you can. Now, here. You pack it tight, put it in that hand, draw the arm back, aim it right at him, and let it go.
Hey!
Beautiful. A bullseye.
She pitched a curve. Did you see that? Come on, kid. You're in our army. We've broken their morale.
So now David Niven doesn't seem as friendly as Cary Grant. How is it working with David Niven?
Well, I was told in the very beginning of the movie to stay away from him.
Oh, they told you ahead of time.
Yeah. So
I guess he didn't like kids.
I don't think he did. It was, I just stayed away from him. I was around Cary Grant and the beautiful dog. There was a giant dog in the movie, and
Yes.
sweetest thing ever.
Yeah. So do you ever go back and watch the movies? Do you like to do that?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I travel all the time at Christmas, and the theaters that I do my appearances at, they show both of the movies, so I see it on the big screen every year.
Yeah,
which is
tell us
great.
about that. So how many years have you been going to the festivals? This has been going on a while, right? That you go every December to different festivals?
Well, there's only one It's a Wonderful Life festival, and that's in Seneca Falls. And it started it'll be 23 years this year that I was first in Seneca Falls, New York. And I felt like that really was the place with the bridge, all the things. It's the magical place that I'm sure Capra visited. And he supposedly had a cousin in another town close by, but there was a barber there. The town back when he was there was divided. There were the Italians on one side of the canal, and on the other canal was the Wasps. So they didn't intermingle much. And so he walked, not when he went there, before he went there, but when he went on the bridge, he saw there was a plaque there to a young Italian man and his name was Antonio. I can't think of his last name. Very, it started with a V, but Vericoli, Antonio Vericoli. He was just walking across the bridge, and he saw this woman, and she was taking her own life, and she jumped in the water. So he jumped in to save her, and he saved her life. But in the process, he didn't know how to swim, and he died. So
Whoa.
the town was just so overwhelmed by his kindness and his death that brought the two factions together. And that was the beginning of the town as a whole, because they came together. And then the WASP side even brought his family over from Italy. And it just was very, very
Wow.
wonderful thing. Yeah.
What an
So
incredible. Wow.
there was a
I never
barber.
heard that.
Well, that's what Frank Capra would have seen when he came to visit. And he would have seen the plaque on the bridge and learned that story and all the other things that are similar to the film are there. So anyway, there was this barber who said he cut Capra's hair, and he remembered very distinctly cutting Capra's hair. So I said, well, I got to talk to this guy. So I talked to him, and his name was Tommy Bellissimo. And I said, are you sure you really cut Frank Capra's hair? And he said, oh, I have no doubt I cut his hair. He said, I remember very well, because he said, my name is Tony Bellissimo, and Bellissimo in Italian means beautiful. We're both from Sicily, and Capra in Italian means goat. So I always remember cutting the goat's hair. So that convinced me that this was the place for the
It was
festival.
for real. Yes.
That's the only festival I do. The rest of it are just shows, or I'll go where they're showing the film and present the film and so forth and so on. So it's all different. Everything I do is different, but it started in
Yes.
1993 when the Target company brought together the Bailey kids for the first time since the movie was made.
Oh, how exciting that must have been.
Well, it really
Nice.
was. I
Yeah.
had been in contact with Jimmy, the littlest boy, Jimmy
Little
Hawkins.
Tommy. Yeah.
Yeah, Tommy and I were buddies already, but it was great to get together, and we traveled all over the United States, did interviews and everything for the Target company, because that was the movie was their theme that year in the stores. So that's how we all got back together again. And when the people went through the autograph line, I was amazed at the stories they told about how that movie had affected their lives. And some of them had even been suicidal, and the movie pulled them back into real life in a beautiful way. And they were so thankful that they saw that film. So after seeing the people's response, and we went all over the United States, I felt like I needed to travel for the film and spread the word and the magic that really is from that film. It is there.
Yeah.
So that's when I started on the road. And I've been on the road ever since.
Well, God bless you for that. You are definitely the ambassador for It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
definitely, yeah, it's about faith. It's about, you know, humanity coming together, love, self-worth. So I want to ask you,
family.
definitely family, what is your favorite scene in the movie?
Well, it's where George is on the bridge and he wants to live again. And says, I want to live again. I want to live again. And then he says, please, God, I want to live again.
I want to live again. Please, God, let me live again.
Hey, George! 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 You all right? Hey, what's the matter?
Now get out of here, Bert, or I'll hit you again. Get out of here.
What the Sam Hill you yelling for, George?
George. Bert, do you know me?
Know you? You kidding? I've been looking all over town trying to find you. I saw your car piled into that tree down there, and I thought maybe you... Hey, your mouth's bleeding. Are you sure you're all right?
What you... My mouth's bleeding, Bert! My mouth's bleeding! Zuzu's pedals! Zuzu... There they are! Bert! What do you know about that? Merry Christmas!
Well, Merry Christmas.
Merry!
And the minute he says the word God, it starts snowing again. And you know he's back. And for me, that gives me chills, and it makes me feel like it helps me to realize what really is important in this world today. And I think it's faith and family, friends. And I even believe in the possibility of miracles.
I'm right there with you. Yeah. You've suffered your share of tragedies. Is that something that you would like to share with us?
Oh, sure. I've been through a lot, but I think that all my experiences in life were to get me ready for the biggest part I've ever played before. And that is my life today, because it's huge what this movie has done and what people want. They want to share that movie. They want to share the messages there. I mean, there's not very many people who don't know that line. Daddy, teacher says, every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings. And you ask people if they've ever seen the movie. No, I don't think so. And I said, well, have you ever heard that line? Oh, yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a movie that's touched many hearts around the world, actually, because I get a lot of mail from foreign countries.
Wow, that's great. And just reaching out and telling you how the movie has affected them.
Yes, yes.
That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Or they want an autograph or something, but they know about the movie, they love the movie, and it's meant a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So it's just to be a part of that, I feel is an honor and a pleasure and a privilege that I have been chosen to be that little girl.
Yeah.
And like you say, I went through a lot of curves and pimples and sore spots to get there, but it built my character, and it made me realize, and I had empathy for other people because of what I've been through in my life. So I could connect better with them.
Yes.
I think it's the road that I was supposed to take.
Yeah. And that's the most perfect way to look at it. It's like we say, God, why am I going through this? But when you realize when you trust God, when you're going through something, he just gives you like the grace to go through it. And then you can turn around and help somebody else that is going through that very thing. So to me, I always say,
Each life touches another.
absolutely. Absolutely. And if you go through something, if only just to help one person, I believe it's worth it.
I think it is too. I really do.
Yeah. So now, after your last movie, how did you end up leaving Hollywood?
I was 14 when my mother died. She started getting sick when I was 8, and she slowly got worse and worse. And so I didn't do many movies after that because I needed a stage mom to push me out there. And if I got a part, if I went on an interview and got a part, my dad would have to take off work and stay with me on the set. It just wasn't something that was important to him. and he had a job. So, it was a tough thing. So, yeah, she died when I was 14, and then a year later, he got killed when I was 15. So, there was no one in California that I didn't have any relatives there. I would have been accepted in some families, but my dad didn't leave a will, so there was only the circuit judge that could tell everybody what happens to me. And it was his decision to send me to live with my father's brother and his mean wife in a little town in Missouri. And I asked the judge, I said, do I have any say at all in this about my life? And he said, whatever your desires and wants are like a drop in the bucket. That's exactly what he told me. So I ended up in a little town in Missouri, and probably was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Even though it was
I'm
it a tough family life with them?
Oh,
Now,
very
why
tough,
was it so
but
tough? Did they not want children, or did they not want to take you in, or there was just that's the way they were?
she was mean. He was not. He suffered a lot because he stood up for me while I was there. For the few years I was there, he suffered a lot. She was kind of crazy. She just wasn't a nice person. I could tell you stories, but I won't go into that.
Was she jealous of
But
you? Was she jealous?
no, she
Okay.
just was a mean,
Oh,
mean person. And everybody in town knew it. It was a small town. Everybody knew what she was. So my teachers, the merchants, everyone, my friends at school, they all rallied around me, and they made my life workable. So that was a great gift that they gave to me, because I I persevered because of them. And I realized how helping other people makes you feel pretty darn good. So I learned a lot during the time I was there. And then I graduated from high school, and I never went back. I never went back to
okay.
the town. I mean, to live there.
Right, right.
Mhm.
But that's a little ironic that it was a small town like Bedford Falls, right? That you would end up in a small town like that.
I went to LA High. There were 950 kids in my class. In this town, there were 800 people.
Wow. Wow.
So it was a bit of a culture change.
Oh gosh. For
And it
sure.
was all farm country, farm country. That's what the living was farming. And so all the boys in my class would do their chores before they'd come to school in the morning. And they all smelled like cow shit, It was awful.
As opposed to the
It was
boys
a
you were
whole
probably,
different life.
as opposed to the Hollywood boys, right?
Yeah, it was different.
Like day and night. Wow.
But you know what? They're real people. They weren't fake. They weren't trying to get anywhere. They didn't have to step on anybody to get where they
Right.
wanted to be. And they were good people.
Yeah.
When I finally figured that out, I knew I was where I should be. And
Yeah.
I learned a lot.
Yeah. So it seems like God was kind of like directing your path each step of the way. A lot of times we don't even realize it, but God opens doors and closes doors, and it's all for his divine purpose, I believe.
Oh, I believe it is.
Yeah.
I'm living to be awfully old. And I
Ah,
guess there must be a reason for it.
nonsense. Talk to Dick Van Dyke if you think you're old.
84.
Yeah.
I'm
And isn't he,
84.
you're
So
84 years young. My friend Brenda Vaccaro just turned 85 years young. And Dick Van Dyke is
I'm
100.
on my way.
You are
Yeah,
so
it's
beautiful. You're,
well, I'm having a lot of fun in my later years, that's for sure.
I love that. That's great. Do you feel like looking back, do you feel like God was carrying you through anything? Like, or during that time, did you feel it? Or when you look back, you say, huh, that's how I got through it.
Um, maybe. I think that my mother and father instilled a lot into me that were principles, morals, and I mean, I think that's my foundation. And they made me go to church. And I was singing in the adult choir when I was 6 years old. I had a singing voice. And so there was a time when I was offered a recording contract and my mother turned it down. I'll never forget. I wonder what my life would have been had I got to do it when I was in the third grade. It would have been a different life, but I continued to be religious and raised my kids in the church and all that.
Right.
But now I seem to pray for other people more than myself. I for some reason or other it's turned into that. I figure I can make it, but they really need help. So I kind of concentrating on doing that for the last 20 years.
That's beautiful. How about these LA fires? Do you know people that are living in LA dealing with the fires?
Yes, and it's a tragedy. Their lives will never be the same.
Oh, never.
I don't think LA is going to be the same. I think this is going to continue to happen because of the dryness.
Yeah.
You know, when I was a little girl in Hollywood, everything was green. It was beautiful. All the mountains were green. I mean, it was just gorgeous place to be. And now it's all dirt. I mean, it's just dirt, brown. It's Los Angeles to me is brown now because there's no greenery, there's no flowers. I mean, we used to have gardeners and all that sort of thing. You don't even need them now because now you're planting these cactuses so they won't burn up, like your regular flowers and such would, and you don't have to use a lot of water on them. So, it's a different world than when I was there.
Yeah.
I was there when it was kind of pure and it wasn't I don't know, I thought violated
Right.
because I think it got violated pretty badly.
Yeah.
But I do feel sorry for a lot of the people. I don't know many people there anymore, and certainly I have no friends there anymore because everybody's already got their wings.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
I
you
would think
hear
my
every
best friend is
what's that?
my
What's that?
best friend there is Janie from the movie and Jimmy Hawkins, who played my little brother. Those are my best friends now from there. So we're
And
in
you've
contact
spoken
all
to
the
them.
time.
Are they okay? Are they okay? Have they been affected?
Yes, they're fine.
Thank
They're
God.
fine.
Okay.
They're okay. But Janie is not healthy, so that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
She has
Oh,
Alzheimer's.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So she can't travel with us anymore or do any of those things.
Yeah.
We miss her,
Oh,
but
I'm sure. And how old is she?
yeah. Let's see, she would be 2 years older than me. She'd be
Okay.
86, I think.
That disease,
87.
it's such a
86.
cruel disease. It's cruel for the person that has it and
It's,
then for the family and friends, you know. Um,
oh,
yeah,
it affects everybody.
everybody.
And my mother had early onset Alzheimer's, and that's, she had it. She was to watch someone deteriorate
Yeah.
right in front of your eyes, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's kind of hard for a
Yeah.
lot of people.
Do you know, she was a child actress like you, Patty McCormick? She was in The Bad Seed.
I know who you're talking about, but I never knew her.
Oh, okay. Because she was just here in New York with actor Dan Lauria. He plays the father on Wonder Years. Um, he wrote a play about two friends who knew each other. One was a comedy writer. I think the other one was like an actor. And one of them had Alzheimer's. And they would meet every day on a park bench. And it was like, so the one with Alzheimer's, she was meeting him for the first time. And then the next day they would sit on the park bench like they were meeting for the first time. But once they started talking, they started connecting again because of their interests, their creativity. But it was sad, but it was heartwarming, but it gave us like a glimpse inside the world of somebody struggling with Alzheimer's. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Terrible disease. Terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. So Jimmy Hawkins, what is he doing these days?
He produces, he writes, he's still got his finger in the business a little bit.
Nice.
And he does go to the festival. It's the only place he goes as far as appearances are concerned. So I got him to go about 7 years ago. I got him to start coming. And so he does do that. And, he worked with Elvis Presley. He did a lot of things. And he did a special with Evel Knievel. He produced the first movie for Disney about how the Seeing Eye Dogs came about. The first one. I mean, he does good projects about things that are good.
Yeah. That sounds brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, you and Jimmy, you come into our home every December and you touch our hearts. You touch our hearts. And you're, like I said before, you're such a beautiful person inside and out. I know just from talking with you. And what would you like to share with the viewers? Like what is like a takeaway that you would like to share with our viewers?
Well, if you haven't seen the movie, see it. That's my command to you. Because once you see it, it really does change your life, and it gives you a positive spin on things that could really be not so positive. A lot of people have been on that bridge, and you watch the movie and it gives you hope. And I really think that we need a lot of hope today. And
Absolutely.
They need it. I know a lot of people that watch the movie year round, and I understand why.
Yeah.
Because you have to have faith in your friends and your humankind. You have to have faith. And when you see things in this world today, you question that faith. Because some people are kind of not living like maybe they could to really help people. And giving of yourself is the key to a happy life.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your stories. Before I let you go, and I am going to let you go, I want to play that clip, the final scene of It's a Wonderful Life. And when your little part comes up, I lowered the little Zuzu voice so the big Zuzu can say it. Okay, so I'm going to put that on right now. I love that you indulge me, Karolyn.
To my big brother George, the richest man in town. That's a Christmas present from a very dear friend of mine.
Look, Daddy, teacher.
Daddy, teacher says every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings.
That's right. That's right. Attaboy, Clarence.
You are so adorable. It's awesome. I love it. I love it. I so appreciate that when I asked you to come on, you said, sure, it'll be fun. I so appreciate you. If any of your fans, which you have a lot of them, would like to reach you or send you a note or something, how can they do that?
Zuzu.net.
There you go. Awesome. Okay. Well,
Yep.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. I love you. And maybe we can do this again and maybe you can bring Jimmy on. That would be fun.
That
If
would never
oh no,
happen.
he doesn't do interviews. Okay.
Well, I might. If it's Christmas time, he might. But
Okay.
otherwise,
No.
not so much.
Okay. Right. Maybe we'll try for Christmas time. Well, thank you
Right.
so much. Thank you so much for sharing your wonderful life with us.
Well, thank you, Denise, for having me on.
God bless you, Karolyn.